Hello everyone, I am Priya Pandey from 9th A and today I am going to present a PPT on Vyankatesh Bapuji Ketkar. In this PPT, we will be covering the topics as mentioned on the screen, namely Introduction, Brief Story of Indian Astronomy, the Family Legacy and Venkatesh's early life and career. So let's get started. The last great astronomer in the Siddhanta lineage of Aryabhatta, Bhaskara and Madhava. He predicted with remarkable calculations the existence of the ninth planet in 1911 before Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto in 1930. Do you know him? Though forgotten by India, he predicted many orbital parameters of Pluto. Bapuji's calculations were better than those of Percival Lowell and Henry Pickering, who are still honored. He published in May 1911 issue of Bulletin of Astronomical Society of France. Bapuji was a school teacher. Learned in the ancient Siddhanta texts, he sustained the dying Vedic scientific tradition for one more generation. He complied Jyotirganita in Sanskrit with 1875. As epoch, Vedic astronomy survived into the 20th century only with the Western patronage. Before Clyde announced the discovery of Pluto in February 1930, Bapuji died on severe paralytic stroke. It will be said that Clyde did not know of Ketkar, that he used only the work of his Western predecessors. We do not have any proof, no study has been done on possible influence. But we do know that Bapuji published in Europe. It is not proper to allege without adequate proof, but learning the 1000-year history of the Aryabhatta School of Mathematics and what happened to their work, you will become a cynic and a pessimist of human nature. Kochhar, Rajesh and Narlikar Jayant in 1995 Astronomy in India. Now let us see about the brief story of Indian astronomy. Suraj once said, "Grandpa, you mentioned him as an astronomer who inherited the legacy of Indian astronomy or Jyotishastra. But we know about Jyotishastra in different contexts, that is, in terms of future predictions or astrology. Jyotishastra or astrology and Khagola Shastra are two different things as far as we know about them, aren't they?" Grandfather said, "Your doubt is absolutely correct. Now let me tell you the meaning of Jyotishastra or astrology. Jyoti means luminous celestial objects. Thus, the science of Jyoti was known as Jyotishastra. Similarly, Kha means the sky. Thus, science of spheres in the sky was called Khagola Shastra. Thus, Jyotishastra and Khagola Shastra were one and the same in ancient times. Knowledge of astronomy prevalent in ancient India was profound and scientific. Later on, it got connected with prediction of terrestrial events based on celestial observations, Jyotish, which assigned the term of Jyotishastra or astrology a different identity. Let me now tell you the history of Indian astronomy. Ancient humans used to stay in caves and would hunt wild animals for subsistence. As time passed, man began to live in groups. After establishing settlements, he started planting trees and cultivation of crops. Meanwhile, he felt the need to have a permanent system for knowledge of the time and seasons. He wanted to know about the occurrence of harvest season, sowing season, rainy season and the overall seasonal cycle. He thought that these things should be acknowledged because it made him easier to cultivate crops and plan other deeds. Man could relate himself to nature through day and night, rainy season and cold season, wind and tides. Some events were recorded by observing the relationships between the positions of certain planets and stars in the sky. Thus, the progress of Indian astronomy began gradually. The grandfather then said, "Yes, I will introduce you to a couple of outstanding literary works on the history of Indian astronomy and development of almanacs. The first book is The Ancient and Modern History of Indian Astronomy, authored by Shri Shankar Balkrishna Dikshit. The second important book, titled Indian and Foreign Chronology, was written by Shri V.B. Ketkar. Both books are available in today's reference too. Vedic Period. The oldest of these is the Vedic Period, which dates back from unknown times to 1500 BC. During this period, ancient scriptures like Rig Veda, Samhita, Brahmanas were written. In the Vedas, the year is solar, the months are lunar. 360 days of a year were considered and they were divided into 12 months. The months were named as Madhu, Madhav, Shukla, Shuchi, Nab, Nabhasya, Isha, Urja, Sahas, Sahasya, Tapasa, Tapasya. At that time, the lunar calendar was lunisolar, but the beginning of the year was considered from the spring equinox. Then comes the Vedanga Jyotish period. Its time is considered from 1500 BC to 400 BC. There are 36 verses in the Vedanga Jyotish scripture composed by a sage named Lagad. According to the scripture, the beginning of the year was on Magh, 11th month in the Indian calendar, Shukla Pratipad. Var, the weekday, and Rasis were not mentioned in Vedanga astrology. The third important period is the period of Siddhanta Jyotish, which started from 400 AD and is currently running. During this period, a text called Aryabhatya was written by Aryabhatta in 499 AD, and Varamihir's Panchasiddhantika was written in 505 AD. The mathematics of the motion of the planets was studied during this period. The family legacy. Grandfather. Ketkar family inherited an ancestral legacy that would make one feel proud. The family of Vyankatesh Bapuji Ketkar originated from a small village called Ketki Bewali, near Chiploon, situated in the Konkan belt of Maharashtra. Its history dates back to the period of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. After the assassination of Sambhaji Maharaj, Mughals established their stronghold in Maharashtra. Many Maratha chiefs and soldiers took military actions against the Mughal stronghold. Among these was a chiefman named Bhalerao, who led the raids called Bhalerai. The Bhalerai raids caused chaos, resulting in the migration of many families, including the Ketkar family. Ketkars and sisters settled in Paitan, on the banks of Godavari river. Paitan was famous in 18th century Maharashtra for education, money lending and textile. Paitan was also the ancient capital of King Salivahana, initiator of the famous Salivahan Saka. The ancestral business of the Ketkar family was of the apparels of zari work, a weave of golden or silver threads. The family suffered many ups and downs over the time. During the time of Sakharam Ketkar, that is the grandfather of Venkatesh Ketkar, the business suffered big losses and had to be closed down eventually. On January 15, 1815, Ramakrishna alias Bapuji Ketkar was born to Sakharam Ketkar on the next day of Makar Sankram. Bapuji Shastri Ketkar was born with innate intelligence. At an early age, he mastered grammar, Vedant and astronomy. He had tremendous expertise over astronomy. Bapu Shastri realized that after Ganesh Daivajna, born on 1507 AD, there was no remarkable progress in Indian astronomy. During this period, many important changes took place in astronomical sciences in the West. Newton proposed the law of gravity, Galileo invented the telescope, but in India, the progress was not as profound and remarkable as it should be. The astronomical calculations of events like eclipses evolved from the book Surya Siddha Grahalgav did not match with the calculations of the Western text. After observing this, Bapu Shastri Ketkar wrote a book called Jyotishastra Subodhini in Sanskrit. Bapu Shastri was also a music lover. After acquiring proficiency in academics at the age of 27, he decided to study Rudravina, an instrument of Indian classical music. In order to master the instrument, he prepared to move to Thanjavur, the stronghold of Rudravina. But on the way, he met Pandit Vaikobua Maiskar, a master of Rudravina. During this visit, Pandit Ji urged him to settle in Nargund near Gadag in Karnataka, which was a Marathi province, and learn Rudravina from him. Bapu Shastri accepted this offer, and in a short interval of time, his fame spread far and wide among many scholars there. The court of Nargund Sanstha recognized his merits in a very short time. In the changing circumstances that followed the War of Independence of 1857, the Maharaja of Nargund handed over this gem to the Ramdurga Sanstha. He acquired royal patronage and great honor there. At the request of the King Ramdurga, he translated Professor Kero Lakshman Chhatri's Marathi treatise Graha Sadhana into Sanskrit. Now let us talk about Vyankatesh Ketkar's early life and career. Bapu Shastri Ketkar was blessed with a son on January 18, 1854 during his stay in Nargund. He named the son Vyankatesh. After losing his father at the age of just 16, Vyankatesh Ketkar had to face dire financial difficulties. He was studying English in a school called Sardar in Belgaum. He used to get a scholarship of 3 rupees per month. 2 rupees had to be spent for food, hence he had to fulfill other expenses in remaining 1 rupee. He never had money to buy books, so he used to study with his school friends. Since there was no place to stay, he had to spend nights in the veranda of someone's house. Eventually, when he got a chance to teach mathematics to a boy named Bhadbhade, he got a place to sleep there. Coping with the adverse financial condition, Vyankatesh Ketkar passed the matriculation examination in 1874 and secured the 3rd place. For this achievement, he was felicitated with the Bai Mainak Bairamji Jiji Boy Award, but deteriorating financial condition made it impossible for him to continue his education. He had to skip further education and accept a job as a school teacher at the age of 21. After accepting the teaching profession, he continued his service for 25 years at school in Bagalkot. Vyankatesh Ketkar worked in various other schools till he retired in 1911. But the retirement was only from his job. He never retired from actual research work. After facing hardships of life, Ketkar's nature became very assertive with a sense of pride. He was adamant about his own point of view. Basically, he was highly self-esteemed with a strong determination. He never asked favors from anybody to get his books published. Calm and serious, he was very straightforward and fair-witted. He always adhered to the principles of moral duty taught by his father. Vedanta should not be a mere subject of giving speeches. The principles in Vedanta are the principles of good conduct as stated in Vedas, and it is the duty of the man to follow them. He was of the opinion that the knowledge of Vedanta should be practiced and not merely parroted. His attire consisted of a white dhoti, a white shirt, a black coat with a closed neck, a large pagote, a kind of headgear, scarf, spectacles and a tilak on his forehead. Due to simple living and high thinking, brilliance of erudition, he possessed a respectable personality. The serious expression on his face and penetrating gaze indicated his impressive disposition. Venkatesh Ketkar married Lakshmi Bai in 1872. In 1881, he got married to Ramabai. They had 13 children in total. He fulfilled the educational needs of his children and inculcated values in them. Ketkar's love for his subject, thinking and self-esteem were the undisputed qualities. He was fluent in many languages including English, French, Sanskrit and Hindi. Intense intelligence was his gift and most importantly the scientific approach. Thank you for seeing our presentation. Hope you liked it and learned something new. Presented by Behra Biranchi and directed by Priya Pandey.